digital transformation in frontline workforce management challenges and opportunities. I would request our moderator, Mr. Atul Mathur, Executive Vice President HR, Aditya Birla Capital, to please come on the dais. Mr. Atul Mathur is a seasoned HR professional with rich experience in leadership roles across diverse industries such as telecommunications, BPO, insurance, search consultancy, and media. He excels in setting up and leading large national teams and is certified in MBTI, FIROB, and Assessment and Development Centers. And I would request our panelist, Mr. Pravin Agarwala, co-founder and group CEO, BetterPlace, Ms. Radhika Anand, Human Resources Director, India and PIMS Cluster, Diversey, Mr. Mahesh Joshi, Human Resources Director, CHRO, Honeywell Automation India Ltd, Mr. Saikiran, Amin, CHRO, Mswipe Technologies Private Limited, to please come.
Really a pleasure to be here, and pleasure to be here in the morning, because normally I get a post-lunch session, so I'm sure that all our audience are awake and fully involved in what we're going to discuss here. Automation or digitization in the workforce, in the frontline workforce, is a topic that is being discussed big way today across all companies. What you find is globally, where some studies were done, that about 14% of the people in the frontline workforce are actually upskilled to handle the automation part, right? Almost compared to about 44% of the senior folks who are trained on that. And that's why you find in a lot of organizations, whenever the top management wants to implement something on the digital front, right, or to automate any process, there is some kind of a pushback coming in because people do not understand the magnitude and the benefits of what this is going to bring to them. Along with that, there are apprehensions that, what will happen to my job? Are there opportunities? Are there, ways in which maybe my job may be taken away from me, right? What we also find is that even things like AI and now, interestingly, generative AI, almost 80% of the senior management are kind of toggling with it, using it in some way or the other, compared to about 20% of the frontline workforce. So in today's panel discussion, with all the experts sitting over here, we'll try to get some insights in terms of what are their views in terms of frontline workforce, vis-a-vis digitization and automation. And they will also share some of their experiences and some use cases from the companies that they're working for. So over to you. First, let me start with Mahesh. Mahesh, how do the frontline workforce perceive the impact of digital transformation on their jobs, and do they view it as some kind of something that will help in their autonomy, something that will help in their career development, or are there apprehensions that, as I said, it might take away my job? So what are your views and how are you looking at it in your organization?
Okay, so thank you. First of all, good morning to everyone. And this is a very interesting topic because today transformation is something everybody is talking about. And when I speak about transformation, it is not something new. And why I'm saying that? Because if you see the industrial era from, say, 1940, we have seen Industrial Revolution 1, 2, 3, now 4. Now Industrial 0.4 going on. Now, if you see that entire journey, it is nothing but a transformation, right? Because every time in second era, computer got introduced, right? And the first thought about human being was now computer came, my job has gone, okay? Or something is completely disruptive happening, so nothing left for me. I need to either learn this or get out of it. But if you see today, all of us sitting in this room, scratching our head how to use that more effectively. Okay, so I think so our jobs got increased, not decreased. Okay, so that is point number one. Point number two, if you see, when it comes to a transformation, it's a disruptive change. Okay, when I say disruptive change, that means you have not done that before. You are getting into a new path and it will have its own impact. There are something that you are getting into unknown. And when you're getting into unknown, the first thing is a fear. Okay, and that fear for any professional is nothing but losing my job. And that fear, and I'll basically talking to Atul in the morning, and very interesting example came to my mind. So my last 24, 25 years of journey, I worked in a company for 10 years, which is very sales heavy. I don't want to take the name of the company, very sales heavy. And I think so, a lot of people were in sales. And when we started a digitization platform rollout in that particular space, one lady came to me and saying, why you are doing this? You just transfer me to the other department, all the jobs will go in the sales now. Okay. And interestingly, we managed to convince her that what exactly changing, what exactly we are doing. And in that space, I met her around 5 years back, and she's heading the sales excellence department in one of the pharma company today. So what happened in the process, that instead of seeing that as a different, I'm losing something as a job, but she got a free time because she used to do a lot of manual work. Now she moved that from manual to cognitive thinking. And she did a lot of innovative actions in her own professional journey, which actually helped her to improve. So ideally, one is a fear. Second is a reluctance. So for example, very interesting things if you see, in past, there are a lot of sales people who stayed with the company for a long time. They are doing very good. They know the market space. They know the region. So what happened in the process, they get a lot of incentive. Nothing is changing, right? The moment you go to them and say, now this is a new SFDC model or new new model is coming up, they'll say, whatever I'm doing in past, what's wrong in that? Why should I do this additional work? So they see this as an additional work. And that is why most important thing what I see is resistance, and second is a risk. Now, how we need to do as an organization, because your question has 3 forms, what I see. One is a concern. Second is how to address from an organization standpoint. I see 2 important things as the HR professionals that we need to do. One, positive communication. That's something that you need to do right in the beginning, not after the rollout. So that is one. Second, that positive communication should include cost of doing nothing. So the most important thing, if you communicate that, if you don't do any transformation today, what would be the impact for the organization? Better to be in the job rather than be obsolete. Okay, so that is most important thing that we need to do. And third, reskilling and upskilling. And this is not me, but everybody, every organization is doing, not only for the transformation, but also as an overall journey that I see. And that is what I personally feel we need to really think through and get into this space.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mahesh. Pravin, you want to add something to
Just to add, with my experiences dealing with large frontline workforce, and there's a transition happening, and this is changing fast after COVID for sure, but there are 3 things that becomes very important. One is trust in the system, right? So people actually do not trust the system completely. And this is changing dramatically after, for example, using a Google Pay. Now I can do financial transaction in the system, right? So I can also learn. People have started using now Hotstar and YouTube, and so people are getting used to it when the frontline comes into a picture where there's a mobile and I can trust the system, right? That is building. 5 years back, you give a salary to a security guard. Within 1 hour, they will withdraw the money because they do not know the money will stay in the bank. If you give the money in online, they will never accept it. Today, everyone wants it online. So that's a trust change. The second thing, which is very important, is usability, right? I think that's a massive change that has to happen. I give you an example. We launched our financial access solution that we have created, and we did the same way like the knowledge worker. You open the form, link, add this 20 different data points, apply. And then when we did our analytics, we saw that in 4th, 5th, 10th step, it breaks out. People just stop, right? So we change it now. You just come, it shows you that you are eligible for this much of loan, enter the amount, you get the loan. Now, we launched with Rapido last week. Within 1 day, 50,000 people applied for a loan with completion, right? This is a massive change because usability is actually creates value. Similarly, if you have, let's say, an attendance system, can I look at my data, how many hours I worked, can I calculate my salary, which I used to do on pen and paper, and so on, right? So usability becomes absolutely important. So it's a trust, it's ease of use, usability, and finally, as I said, what's in for me, right? So if I get value out of it, I start using.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I think what you said in terms of trust, and which kind of also links with what Mahesh said in terms of positive communication going around. So it's a combination of both trust and from an organizational perspective, how do we really create that trust, and maybe leaders demonstrating it and kind of allaying their fears, right? On a lighter note, I find that I'm losing trust, because today when I find ACR documents which come into me, and the English quality and not even a single important word missed in that. So I find it very difficult to how to appraise them, because I think it's all been taken from generative AI. So whatever work that they have done. But anyway, that was on a lighter note. But yes, definitely, what both of you said, and also from a usability point of view. So coming back to you, Pravin, based on comparative data analysis, which sectors or industries do you think have gained the most because of this digital transformation?
I think if you look at organizations which are highly distributed and large workforce, that's where I see the change happening very fast. The e-commerce or the cab companies, the new age, were the fastest adopters, right? So when 2015, when we started, everyone said this is not an area we should get into. All the apprehensions and things like that. We went to the Flipkarts and the Dunzos and all those things. They said, we need a technology, 2 weeks you decide, right? Very fast. So that's where the adoption happened. Now, COVID worked as a advantage to the digitization. So it's a tailwind as such. And every organization looks at that. I think the transformation that we see really fast is retail. Retail, which are large retails, distributed. People are coming, going, how do I manage them? How do I upskill them? And so on. Second thing we see is manufacturing. We thought manufacturing would be the slowest because there are labor unions and groups and things like that. But manufacturing is moving the fastest in this adoption because they see a real challenge with large number of third-party workforce, efficiency going down, and everyone wants to be more profitable than what they are. And third is BFSI, which we believe is very, very strong. Construction is moving, but because it's very unorganized, it's moving slower than is required. But the value that it can bring would be massive as well because it's very unorganized. But that's where we see the change happening right now.
Absolutely, and coming from BFSI, I can definitely vouch for it, that it is definitely bringing in what was earlier perceived as disruptive. I think this is more constructive. Only thing is that you have to be a thought leader and use it effectively to your advantage, and completely agree with retail aspect as well. Manufacturing, in fact, is more surprising because that's where one would have expected the most resistance coming in, keeping in mind that there are trade unions and all. But I think it's again a question of the trust that they've been able to create and communication. So, talking of communication, Radhika, let me come to you. What role do mobile applications play in streamlining communication and task management for the frontline workforce?
Yeah, and I'm going to pick up on what Mahesh and Pravin also said, right? Trust is the most important element here. And I think trust has to do with that positive narrative that you create. And I think today technology plays a significant role in creating that interconnectedness across the organization, especially in distributed workforces. So I guess today technology, and I think I can take use cases from a lot of organizations which are doing that, where the narrative is really moved from your initiatives, your actions just being there for the ones which are captive in our offices. But essentially, technology being used to really cascade every initiative being a hybrid space. And I think that is the power of what the technology really brings to the table. And just to kind of say that, there's a barrier to really adopt digital technology, right? And that's where I think organizations and a couple of organizations that I've been a part of have used that as a narrative to say that it's the change which we all need to embrace. COVID had made things easy for us because resilience and a growth mindset and our ability to really change in that VUCA, Bani world has become a narrative which even a frontliner understands. And I think how do you then use technology as a space where you make their life comfortable? And that entire conversation happening around that technology is not just to really change the processes or really moving up the curve on efficiency, but it's about making your life easy, which could be in terms of the access to various self-service platforms that yesterday they had to go to a desktop and do it, or maybe do it in a paper-based space, or it is about really tracking those claims, etc., which they used to do on and maintain those bills, etc., somewhere. Today there are apps which actually automatically just calculates the mileage and you don't have to do any submissions, but it essentially is like a report, and basis that report your claims get processed, to a point wherein, I was giving a pharma use case in this, that there was a lot of impetus on knowledge, right? Because the frontliners essentially were the knowledge carriers to the experts there. And today that space is completely got digitized, and it's made the life of those medical representatives very, very easy, where they don't have to mug up things about a therapy or a subject, but there are these smart apps on the mobile where there's a keyword search and they can actually get what they're looking for in the proprietary data which the organization wants to contribute. So I think it's the narrative about making life easy for those frontliners which are really facing in the market. And I think that narrative is really built in the trust, where they see, yes, there's something for me in there. And the real piece is that the world is changing, so am I. And I think so one piece is that you have a narrative which is more positive, that how it changes your life for better. And the second part is the impetus around the conversation of how reskilling is a way that you reinvent yourself. We learn, our entire cultural learning narrative has changed to learning for life rather than learning for work. And I think that narrative really then enables everybody to say that the world is changing. And it's no more about professional learning and personal learning, but it's a continuum which each one of us needs to embrace. And that's the other way of really communicating that, yes, you're going to adopt technology, but that's going to give you space. And then use that space to really invest in a skill or a capability which may help you in future. That's possibly the way we navigate communication. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in fact, concepts like learning in the flow of work or growth in the flow of work,
exactly.
Right? And like you said, lifelong learning. So definitely, completely resonate with that. But as a follow-up question, Radhika, I'm just going back to what, Pravin mentioned. So do you think that in this transformation, especially from a mobile app perspective, people using it for their personal use as well, like he mentioned about banking transactions or, booking tickets or something. Do you think somewhere that has also helped in terms of taking it forward?
Significantly. I can give examples, and you were talking about manufacturing. We had recently introduced an app which was a kind of an extension of an HRMS, and it was for the contract workers. Now, the biggest barrier that we thought was going to be they're embracing an application which has only two linguals. It was a Hindi and an English in that space, but because today they are used to so many apps already, it was such a breezy transformation for us, for about 5,000 contract workers, that we could actually deliver that project in 90 days' time. And I think that's where, it's the entire digital adoption of this country. And it's very, very unique that today, even our payments, we don't carry currency, and it's just not us, but essentially people in tier 3, tier 4 towns as well. And I think that's played enough, decent role in terms of really bringing in that digital adoption, or bringing in that comfort of really using a mobile handset for doing many things. And that's made definitely our lives easy in terms of adoption. Yeah.
And absolutely. In fact, I'm reminded of, a personal incident. My brother-in-law had come in from US, and he was traveling in a Ola car, and much to his surprise, he realized that that person does not accept cash, yeah. Right? And, so it had to be, either GPay or you have it from the Ola account. So I think things have moved forward, and I think that's also somewhere helping us. So coming to you, Saikiran, in what ways does tech adoption help improve workforce efficiency of the front line? And are there any use cases from your organization that you would like to share with us here?
Absolutely, Atul. Good morning, everyone. And I think it's a wonderful session to be a part of it amongst the august audience. Coming back to the question, when we're looking at digitization of the workforce, and when I look at my organization, Mswipe Technologies, product-driven company, a sales workforce. So when we talk about a digital workforce in our organization, it is those nameless, faceless, but must-have people, who distributed across the length and breadth of India. They are the ones who are the first face of the organization, who interact with your customers or the merchants, as we call them. who engage with them, ensure that the product sales are happening, the service issues and the tickets are being taken care of, where new merchants are being onboarded. So traditionally, when we've looked at all of these processes, there's been a lot of paperwork, there's been a lot of lack of transparency in the operations, because the person who is in a far-off location is expected to do paperwork. The paperwork then needs to move into your circle office and then move back into your head office. And then there's a team that does all of the activities behind that. And that's when we saw that, today, every organization that comes into this business, we are all here to make a profit. We are all here to make a success. And we're all here to make a mark in the industry that we're operating out from, right? So efficiency is critical. Turnaround is critical. Your customer satisfaction is critical. Looking at all of these aspects, what we realized was there was a lot of areas for us to kind of really step in and take an accountability for that workforce, which traditionally most of the organizations, fail to think about them in the first place. Because, as an organization, you want to keep abreast of technologies, you want to keep up with changing times, you've got multiple challenges of, generational diversities as we speak. The workforce that's coming to you is multi-skilled, and, the level of skills vary across generations at this point in time. So when you look at all of these aspects and, you want to bring about an efficiency, and where do you go? Then it's technology. And the moment you talk technology, and then resonating with what Mahesh and Pravin mentioned, the first fear that comes through is the loss of the jobs that are there. So I think it becomes very critical for us to first understand the problem, understand what are those tools that would really solve your problems for you. Along with that, establishing the why and the how with your workforce, because you're expecting them to do the transformation for you, right? So most of the time, there's a lack of skills, the fear of the loss of jobs that are there. So we work with them in terms of, ensuring that the communication that goes across to all of this population, like you rightly said, the communication has to go down. But is it really reaching the masses? Down the line, I think that's where, as HR professionals, we will need to step up and understand that the flow of the information, the expectation from the workforce is being set right. Today, when I look at Mswipe, yes, when I look at my workforce, like I said, you have sales, you have service, you have merchant onboarding operations, you have customer service operations. We've developed the tools over time, looking at all of these aspects that are there. So the sales guy who goes out into the market in a far-off remote location in India, is talking to a merchant because, we are talking to the masses today when we are digitizing them for payments, right? So he needs information about the product. And like Radhika mentioned, there's an app available. He just puts in a keyword. He puts in the name of the device. He gets the complete feature list. So, there's an opportunity for him to learn on the go, on the fly, not depend on people for information to percolate down to make that sale, right? At the drop of a button, he has the entire customer history available to him, so that, he's able to understand the customer's experience. Is that a new customer? Is that a privileged customer? Is there an upsell that needs to be done? Or is there a specific requirement? So the level of intelligence that goes down to that sales agent is always available to him in front of him, right? Because we've also seen challenges with middle managers in terms of in their abilities or their inabilities to communicate or set expectations in the manner that you want them to do. To kind of take care of all of these issues. This is where technology helps in. My service operations, a guy when he goes out to do a service ticket, has the entire customer information available to him. What is the device? What are the issues? What has the experience been like? So that he's able to react and respond and ensure that the customer satisfaction is taken care of then and there itself. And there's no dependency at the back end for a team leader to step in or for a manager to step in or someone from the head office to go back and, address that issue. Today, my customer service operations, there are people on the calls 24/7 who are taking in, the merchants calling in. Are we really addressing the merchants? We built in a generative AI tool that looks at the entire call flow. The moment the call is dispositioned off, the entire call runs through an AI platform, and it gives us a clear visibility in terms of, the entire sentiment analysis is presented to us. Has this customer been managed right? Has the expectations been taken care of? Have we followed processes and protocols? Yes or no? I think there's a lot of inputs that we get as management, as leaders, as the QA teams to kind of step in and understand if there are gaps, if there are, variances in the SOPs that are there, where we can do real-time interventions and help this population, kind of learn, develop, and put things in perspective. So tools are available, multiple tools. And I think the benefit of the tools, like you asked me, Atul, are immense. But I think it's also critical for us to first understand, what are those tools that will really help us transform the lives of the workforce that we're working with. Secondly, the communication, establishing the why and the how to ensure that the trust is built up with this workforce so that they're with you, they're aligned with the vision that you're doing it. Right? And at the same time, learning and development, constant intervention, reskilling, upskilling, so that, they see value. And like Radhika mentioned, it has to be skilling for life. They've got to see the value in terms of what they're learning and how is it that they're going to kind of incorporate it, not just with you, but in their lifestyle, with any organization that they work with. I think that's the value that we see with it.
Yeah, Pravin.
Just to add on the task management thing, one of the things that we experience that technology-wise, you can create these task management systems, right? You can tell you have to meet these 5 customers today and then go to the 6th one and so on, right? What we did now, what we realized, and how do you create motivation for people at the end of the day? Then only the adoption goes up, right? So we said, okay, average, if you see in our company, for example, let's say you have 2,000 people, average salesperson performs 5 tasks in a day. Now you create a gamification, you do the 6th one, you do the 7th one, your step up will happen. And then you can show that, okay, today's leader board, for example, out of my 2,000, these are the 10 people or 100 people who created 7. And then people start a competitive game kind of thing. That makes it more interesting for them. Similarly, if you make it very contextual, that average people are doing 5, but someone is doing 3, then what is missing? You ask few questions, and then you bring back the technology again. Or you create a video of your top performer who is doing 9 and say how he performed 9 and share this video with everyone. That guy gets motivated that I am becoming more socially engaged and more visible. The other guy gets to learn from the peer, right? And I think that makes task management and engagement
absolutely.
very
I think it has to be made more interactive, interesting, and like you said, peer learning in a different form. Yeah, Radhika.
And I think I just had a point to your point itself. I think it's also the managers, how do we really then enable them to have those conversations? Because it's new to them as well. You can say that this app is great and it can change your life and, you're going to have the right efficiency, productivity, and those data to act on. But I think what technology has also done is giving those insights for these managers to coach. Because at times you are in a space that you might be a new manager and you may struggle to really have a conversation which is a more coaching conversation. But what these apps are really doing is that you've got data points that you can have a meaningful conversation on the ground when you're really going for your joint fieldworks and those joint conversations. So on top of all the work in terms of really rewarding and recognizing all the ace performers, I think there is a space about really bringing the performers who are lagging behind today really up the curve. And I think that's where technology is really helping the middle layer as well. And there's some really interesting stuff happening there on these coaching apps, really to kind of enable the managers have the right insights to have that meaningful conversation on the ground when they meet. And it's just not a performance conversation. Yeah,
absolutely. So 2 things. One, like what Saikiran said, that what is in it for me? If I can see the benefits of how will it help me? So it's not that it's going to replace me, but it's actually going to augment my performance, right? And we see so many examples, like you mentioned also, like let's say in the healthcare or services retail, for example, even in the manufacturing side. And the second important aspect which Radhika brought about, and Saikiran was also alluding to it, was in terms of the managerial capability, the managerial mindset, and the manager as a coach to influence the frontline workforce, where I think, the HR department plays a pivotal role. And I would say in today's context, I think HR is more of a catalyst in terms of, getting these things move forward. So whether it's through some learning and development interventions, like you mentioned, Pravin, like, some gamification, or it is through communication, what we were discussing initially, right? I think the HR really has to think out of the box, and because at the end of the day, all this is only going to help us. And whether you call it VUCA world or Bani world, or I'm still waiting for the new acronym to come out. It's already been 2 years. But whatever world that we are in, yes, things are volatile. Things are volatile. Things are uncertain. There is a lot of disruption happening around us. And, like they say that of the 3 M's, men, money, and machine. And when I say men, I'm also referring to women. So the human resource is the most important resource, or the men are the more important resource for any organization. And therefore the front line, which is where the tire touches the road, they definitely need to be upskilled. So my last question of this panel, which can go to anyone, I can already see Mahesh become... Are you a mind reader, Mahesh? Okay. So let me ask you then, Mahesh, that do you think data privacy and data security, do you think they act as any kind of a hindrance to technological adoption in the organization?
Okay, so first of all, we have seen the gloomy side of data. Definitely, everybody is talking about good, but there is a side which we need to be careful about, which is very, very important as an organization and as a country, both, I would say. So, and this is something correlative to what has happened in 19th century, where wars been happened for oil, and now the new wars will happen for data. And that's the reality, what we are seeing today. Because one practical thing today, 3 to 4 companies globally manages 85% of the global data. And everybody knows about it. Take those 3-4 names, Google, Microsoft, or Apple. You just name and they have 85% of your data. Now what data could do? You all are sitting here are the product for the data. So you are all our products, okay? Because what you do since morning till evening, everything is being tracked. And how many of you are digitally like using a watch or mobile? You get up in the morning and you get some message. Why you're getting that message? Okay, that means you are going to get tracked every now and then. So now if that data is being used in a positive format, it's a good outcome, as everybody was talking good. But if it is used in a bad format, then it would be a problem for us. And that is where I think so it is very, very important for us that how we need to protect our data. So there is a lot of responsibilities, and I'm sure you must have heard about the new act which is passed, which is the DPDP, which is now in force. And it multifolds the responsibility on the employer. Because any vendor is going to miss your data. Now that is a small vendor, we have a lot of unorganized sector that are operating into, and we are easily giving them a work for an economy of scale or economy, but then the minimum fine starts with 250 crores, right? That's a minimum fine. So ideally, one thing that we need to also understand that this data is also plays kind of a weapon against us if we don't do it properly. And that's why to answer your question, I would not say it's a hindrance or it's a deterrent, but it's something that we need to really vigilant about. And highly vigilant about. Because if any of your products, so suppose his is a company which is providing software solution. She's the one who is providing software solution. If the code is leak, your everything is gone. So whatever you have, built over the period of time is going in a day's time. And that is what we have seen happening in past. And that is where, one, how strong NDAs that you are getting into, where the indemnity is something painful to a person next to you signing the contract. That is very, very important. Understanding the regulatory framework. So as an HR professional, I personally felt that I need to learn this, because if you are running any public company like what we do, there are regulations where the data needs to be secured and protected in the country, not outside. And if you see today, how many servers out of the global organizations has in India? 0, being very honest. So these are the new challenges that as a HR focals that we'll have to face and we'll have to address too. And it is something new area that we need to keep learning and evolving over the period of time.
No, absolutely. So you're saying that it's not a deterrent, but it's actually something which is helping us in moving ahead, in a little more measured way and careful way. Just like in the BFSI sector, we say that risk is something that we definitely need to be very wary of. So it's not that it's stopping us from, getting more subscribers or, lending or whatever, but it's actually helping us in terms of ensuring that, we are doing the right things and, our money, whatever that we're giving to other people is also safe. And so the same.
And there is one old South Indian movie called Abhimanyu. Just try to see that. It's a very interesting movie, very old movie, but that time that movie was basically talking about how the data is important. We travel through our boarding cards anywhere, but the code on the boarding card is basically having everything, your passport number, your details, everything. So it's a lot of small things that we do, which would be like a big problem for us. You never know how that comes back to you. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
just to add on to that, I think it's important that, for us to understand as HR professionals, while Mahesh mentioned about governance and ensuring that, we're taking care of all statutory compliances, what we really need to understand is from an HR perspective, get a perspective of the business and understand that data is money, right? So while we are in our zeal to ensure that, we're building up technology, we're building up platforms, we're building up applications that will kind of, ease the life of our workforces that are there. But we also need to understand those apps are also linked back to our databases, also has access to all of our data. So it's very important as HR professionals that when you're developing all of these apps, when you're customizing all of these apps, to pay a larger attention to how is it that you're going to protect your data. Because your data, like he said, is, Atul mentioned, it's proprietary. It's your software that you've developed. It's your architecture that you've developed. And, you would not want to lose that to competition or to hackers or to anybody who can hold you for ransom at this particular point in time. So, the larger thing is that when you're looking at solutions for the workforce, because this is going to be across regions, you've got to ensure that your data architecture, the privacy and the protection should also be taken care of at the same time, so that it doesn't become a deterrent at a later point in time for the organization, for the management to kind of believe in the solutions that we're wanting to bring out for the masses.
Yeah, sure. You want to add something, Pravin?
Quickly, I just wanted to add that data with AI is like nuclear power, right? You can use it for positive energy, and you can also distract the world with it, right? And interestingly, if you look at in Frontline, which I deal with, if you have the right data, you use the right way, we are able to lend the money to them. Otherwise, they will never get it, right? But at the same time, as an organization, we have to take the full responsibility that we do not take this data and use or misuse it rather, right? So we start selling this data, we start giving to someone. So it is everyone's responsibility to protect each one's data in the system. Now there are technologies, there are everything possible, but as a governance model, are we following or not? When you are looking into a system, are you asking those questions or not? That becomes very, very important in my view.
Sure. Thanks, Pravin, and also thanks for pointing out the data right in front of me that the time is getting up or getting over. So, very quickly what we are saying is, just to summarize, that yes, automation or digitization of the frontline workforce is definitely helpful in terms of, improving productivity, ensuring better quality products which are coming in over there. The middle management, in fact, people across the levels are responsible. HR plays a key role in terms of ensuring that people are educated and they see what is in it for me. But along with that, it's equally important that we are wary of the data privacy and information security aspects of the of the whole piece. So I think we still have some time for questions from the audience. Okay, so in case there are one or two questions, which, yes, sir. Can you use a mic? It'll be helpful.
My question is basically to Pravin. You said that you are providing credit to the blue-collar workers. I wanted to know, how do you handle the credit score or the credibility factor? Because people have that, or do you have organizations who do not check the credit score or credibility and provide the credit? Or how do you manage that part?
That's a $1 million question. So I think if you look at the front line, there is not enough CIBIL score. Typically in India, we follow the CIBIL score, right? What we have created is our own proprietary underwriting algorithm, which actually looks into multiple other parameters. How long I have been working in the organization? Am I coming on time for the job? If I'm doing overtime in a month, then that means that I am interested in earning more money so that I take care of family. I'm coming on time, that means integrity is high. So there are multiple such parameters, almost 120 different parameters that we check from an underwriting point of view. And of course, we check if there is a CIBIL score as well, right? If the CIBIL score is not there, with our score we do it. If the CIBIL score is bad, then anyway it does not fly, right? Because there is but there is a very strong, we see very low delinquency right now because of our strong processes.
One last question, otherwise we're through. I think the time's up now. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being such a good audience, and thank you the panelists for your wonderful answers.
So a big round of applause for our moderator and our panelist. And with that, I would be requesting Mr. Pravin Agarwala, co-founder and group CEO, BetterPlace, to please felicitate everybody. And first, felicitating our moderator, Mr. Atul Mathur, Executive Vice President, HR, Aditya Birla Capital. Next, Ms. Radhika Anand, Human Resources Director, India and PIMS Cluster, Diversey. Mr. Mahesh Joshi, Human Resources Director, CHRO, Honeywell Automation India Ltd. Mr. Saikiran Amin, CHRO, Mswipe Technologies Private Limited. Thank you so much.